everyone, welcome to the channel for new battle report. So this is the first game of a tournament, and I find myself paired against another Infernal Dwarves army. So it's a mirror match that I played already several times, and I think I'm going to play more this season because I realize quite often that ID are not so enjoyable at the pairing. And then as often when an army is not so enjoyable for the pairing process, or you don't have so many answers to it, then you might end up against each other. My list is the following. I talked about it in the previous video, and this was my opponent's list. So I think worth mentioning, the full flaming overlord matters, and then he has an engine and a big block of immortals. The rest is very similar to my list. We played all the targets, and I think spell selection, I didn't write it down, but we both picked 1, 5 and 6, so Mark for Doom, Grave Call, Breath of Corruption. And then I picked Word of Battle, and he picked instead the Ward Save spell. So what can I say about the matchup? It's always a strange mirror matchup due to the 3-up against fire. Strange combat and strange combat outcome might happen. I have the feeling that my two single model are very hard for him to deal with outside of the Bastion and Blunderbuss. He basically has no good answer to them. So obviously if I'm outside of this range, I should be able, or my single model should be able to express themselves. Counter deployment to get the right matchup, I think here is the right approach. I know everything about Surging Tide since I made some mistakes in the previous battle report. So in this case, it would be to my advantage to see his deployment and get my single model where they can play the most. I am also in no rush to start to basically, by playing second on this secondary objective, you can sometimes, or you can always optimize the number of scoring you need to put into positioning to score or to win the secondary and not overcommit or undercommit, so to say. So definitely also speaking for playing second. And I think overall I can probably play wider than him. He has not many things that can play out of the bubble. The tank is not the combat tank, so it's not going to be so good outside of the bubble. It's not going to do a lot of damage. And then his overlord is not so good against my single model, so obviously I think I have more threats than him on the flank. It's still a mirror match, so I still need to be careful. It still will not be so easy to engage, but I felt, yeah, it's drawish with a slight advantage for me. Okay, let's move on to the deployment. So he wandered all four sides, and to my surprise, he picked the top part of the map. I think I would have done the opposite if I were him. I don't see a big advantage to get the house in his own deployment zone. Maybe due to the wall, he really wanted the wall maybe, but I have a hill. So I think overall, I would have picked the opposite side, also giving me the lake. I think it's better overall. But anyway, he picked that, and he placed his point in front of the hill. So the hill is obviously going to be a piece of terrain that plays to my advantage. So also something I didn't get here is the way to allow me to take advantage from it, to basically be in a strong position where I get reroll the charges and at the same time being in the target. So okay, already asking myself some questions about his game plan, but we will see. And then I place mine in front of the house, more or less 24 away, I think slightly more than 24, just making really hard for his scoring unit that are not so mobile to be within the target. Deployment wise, I'm going to let him start to deploy. He's going to start with, I think, the vassal unit, then I'm going to place cavalry, and then he's going to do the same mistake I did on the previous battle. He's going to want to drop a first turn, but that's the point where he realized that he can't do it on Surging Tide. So we are going to exchange drop until the end, and he's going to start the game. So he plays the tank on the left. We have here the immortals, the orc slave, the bastion, the other blunderbuss unit, a vassal levy is the overlord, and all the way to the right, which surprised me a lot, was his unit of Lugars. I think I showed the Kalim Titan at some point, so maybe that was his idea to get a counter. But at the same time, it's leadership 9, steadfast on 8, no reroll at all. He's very far away from the BSB. So I felt that's a huge risk for him to play so far away from the BSB with such an expensive unit. So I was quite surprised by that. My game plan, I went heavily on the left. I placed the Overlord to counter the tank. I felt that's going to be an easy fight. Then Blunderbuss, Bastion, Vassal and Lugar. So I have 4 scoring on this point to basically make sure I get this one every turn, and I just need to get the right one turn to win the secondary. That's going to be the plan. Chaff in the middle, so here Lugars, and on the right I just put together Kalim Titan and the Toric Anointed. I felt the combination of those two, they charge far away, it's a scoring unit, it's scary enough for the Overlord, it's scary enough for the Lugars, so I felt that's a good combination on the right and should be enough. And obviously game plan wise, I put here a circle in green. This is going to be my attack zone. As you can see, I have a lot of units on the left, so I'm going to try to overwhelm him, to push really hard forward, get an advantage on the left, which is going to allow me then to target more juicy unit like the Bastion that is next to them. So that's going to be the two-phase plan. First step, get an advantage on the left and then move towards the middle. While on the right side, obviously from the deployment, my main goal will be just at the right time to put the Anointed on the secondary, tied up, win the secondary, and just make sure that due to that, I'm already winning the secondary. And then it's just a matter of, do I get more opening or more solution, more ideas to go for a bigger win? That's going to be the game plan. His turn 1, he pushes behind the wall, pushes forward with all his units more or less, but leaving with long distance charge. Magic Face, I dispel a Gravecall, he get Mark for Doom, does the max wound on the Bastion, so it's already 3 wounds less on my Bastion. My turn 1, push on the right, getting into good position, getting close to the secondary and making sure that the Lugars, if they move forward, they would be at risk of a terror check. I'm already testing his risk appetite by telling him, if you move forward, that's going to be a risk. Are you willing to take it or not? We're going to see that next turn. Sometimes I'm trying to do such moves just to try out to see my opponent risk appetite. This allows me then to adapt sometimes my game plan or the charge range I allow. Overlord moves to the left, trying to move around. I still respect the tank with a long charge. Just make sure that if he moves to, I'm outside of the short range, obviously, important to mention for the shooting. And if he moves forward to shoot the blunderbuss, then I would have an easy charge for the Overlord. So that's enough for me. And I get my Bastion within 18 of his Bastion to get some blast and get close to the secondary with 1, 2, 3 scoring, where he has only 1 and maybe 2. So as you can see, the left one is going to be mine, and the right one, at the moment I'm zoning, just need to go on it 1 time. So secondary is already looking good after turn 1. Magic Face, I fail the breast weapon on 2 dice, get a Gravecall on 4 dice against his 4 dice, and I kill 4 Infernal Warrior within the Bastion unit, and then I roll a Mark for Doom on his tank, and unfortunately I roll a 1 to wound. He's turn 2, to my surprise, on the left flank, where I expected him to be more defensive. He moved the tank in range to shoot at my warrior, which leaves me with an easy charge for the Overlord, so okay, fine. Then he pushes his blunderbuss to get on the secondary, but he puts only 1 scoring unit on the secondary, meaning if I place the Anointed, I should be 1-0 up on the secondary. And as you can see, as an answer to the question I put last turn, he moved forward with the Lugar, just making sure if I double charge those guys, he can counter charge me with the Lugars. Those charges are quite far away, so not so interesting for me. And he plays the Overlord in a counter position with the Vassal together. So as you can see here, no interesting charges for me to take right now, but still I see some options to win a first point for the secondary, and he's starting to move slightly back with the Bastion. Magic Face, get a good Gravecall on my Bastion. I letting that go. I wanted to dispel this time Mark for Doom, and it rolled crazy good. Got 7 wounds out of, I think, 7 hits, and I failed all armor save on the 5-up, so he killed 7 guys in the Bastion unit. So I was like, okay, that's way more than expected. And he rolled also with the attribute another wound to my Bastion. So okay, my Bastion got already 10 guys killed, so half of the unit is gone, but that's not a big problem. I don't expect many combats, so that should be fine. My turn 2. I push. So I charge with the Overlord on the tank. It was an easy charge, I think, on a 5 Swift Ride, so that went in. I use my Vassal Levies to chaff the Immortal in the flank, and those guys I don't care, but I mainly wanted to chaff the Immortal to allow my Blunderbuss to push hard, and then I get shot from Bastion plus the other unit of Blunderbuss onto those Immortals, and that should do a lot of damage. I also push a bit with the Lugars, keeping a sight in the middle of the map, getting ready for charges. Those guys, I don't need them right now, and I get my Anointed on the objective to get tied on the right. On the left I have 3 scorings, so that's going to be 1-0. If he charge me, I have a counter charge ready, or I can flee if I want to. I have 2 good flee paths, so I think that would be my prime option here. But if he charges, he's also at risk to making fail charge in the water, losing steadfast, getting charged by the Titan. So huge risk for him. So I'm not sure he's going to take that charge, and the Lugars are just too far away. So at the moment, the Anointed are in a good position for me. In my magic phase, I got Rot Within on the Immortal, just in case we get then combat between my blunderbuss and his immortals. And then I got breast weapon. I failed the grave call on 3 dice, and between all my shooting, so breast weapon and the 36 shot of blunderbuss, I kill 11 immortal, meaning half of the unit. So that's really good for me. I also got an attribute of alchemy on the tank to make multi-wound on the Onyx core, and I managed to do like half wound, but he's still alive. His Orc Slave, they charge my Vassal Levies that were chaffing. He moves back with the Immortal and he moves forward with his Bastion, throwing some momentum here to shoot at my Bastion, I guess. He moves the Overlord towards the middle, looking at the flank of the Bastion. In case I would charge with my Lugar, he wants to have a counter charge, which makes sense. And now he corrected the problem of the first turn and moved the Lugar on the secondary to make sure he has 2 units on the secondary objective. And I'm not going to be able to steal it anymore, but this doesn't matter much, to be honest, because I already got too much. I already got the point I wanted, I needed, and I just now need to make sure I win the left every turn, which should be easy to do considering what scoring he has. Right flank, as you can see, no really good attack option for me. The Overlord is looking the other way, but still the 2 units are covering themselves. That's a long charge towards the Lugar, so I cannot send those guys alone. Going here is easier, but it would most likely be steadfast, and I get counter charge in the flank, so I cannot get that. Magic phase. I Binding Scroll the Grave Call because I felt lost enough guy in the Bastion unit. Then he didn't do much in the magic this time, I guess. Yeah, he got a ward save on his Infernal Warrior with the Blunderbuss, just in case I get into combo charge, which makes sense. And then got a breast weapon and kill 4 guys in my Bastion unit, so still a good 2 spell off. Shooting, he did nothing to my Troika Anointed with the Blunderbuss, which was surprising, obviously. It's still a good amount of shot. I think it's like 7 wide, so like 14 on 5 and 4. So he could have done a couple of wounds, but nothing. And close combat, I do some wounds to the tank, but I leave him alive on 1 wound, so I don't get the free pivot. And then the Vassal Levies win. He has only, I think he had only like 1 model in contact, so he doesn't do much. I do more than him. And more, I think the key thing here for me is I can reform 5 wide while he can't due to the unit being next to the Orc Slave. So I'm not sure this charge was so good for him. So I reform 5 wide and now I'm going to do a lot of damage while he's still only 3 wide. So that's quite interesting for me. My turn number 3. So got a charge with the Lugar in the flank of this unit. It was a charge on a 9. It's not an easy charge. Basically, I checked before, downside, nothing. If I fail charge 6, I can easily chaff with the fast car of the Bastion. And the Overlord is too far to charge me, so no downside. And if I make it like I did, I mean it's huge because get into the flank, so I'm going to break them, pursue into the secondary, out of line of sight most likely of the Overlord. That looks really good for me. So huge opening. I think he should have probably fled it, or at least last round make it a bit harder for me by just sliding 1/2 inch to the side to make it like an 11. And I think that would have been enough. So he hasn't been too careful here and got punished for that. So already huge turn of event here. Magic phase, what do we get? So yeah, here right flank now I don't need to push anymore. I have a huge advantage. So I just place these 2 units as a counter charger because he's going to maybe charge me with the Lugars, but I'm 1 more wide than him, so I have an advantage. And I just need them to stick and counter charge him with those guys afterwards. I'm just trying to now win the trade of resources. That's basically the idea. I got enough of an advantage to not take too much risk. And here I push my Blunderbuss to give a front to the Immortals. I don't need to shoot them anymore. I have Rot Within, only 11 left, so they are not a threat anymore. If they charge here, they are going to suffer some more wounds. So I target now all my shooting to the Bastion to reduce his Bastion effectivity and to move toward a bigger win. In the magic phase, I got a breast weapon. I failed the Grave Call on 4 dice. I kill 6 in the Bastion unit between all the shooting, breast weapon, everything. And yeah, close combat, I do enough wounds to auto break him. I pursue, don't catch him. He end up all the way here, passes the panic check on a 9, which was important. I overrun into the secondary, so it's already 2 up for me. And here I do good amount of wounds, he crumble a bit more and stick, and I kill the tank. His turn 4 moves back with the Immortal that can't do really anything. He is stuck in combat. The Overlord has nothing crazy to do, so just reposition, move slightly back with the Bastion. That hasn't so many models left, as you can see, like 10, yeah, 15 maybe. Those guys stay where they are. He rallies the Blunderbuss on the 9 and he charges me with the Lugars. But like I said, I have more attack than him. I have 1 model more. Infernal Brand, some good counter charges. So looking forward to see what happened here. I think only the counter charge of the Anointed is enough if I'm not winning on the first round. So yeah, I felt that's a risk for him. In the magic phase, what do we got? We got Gravecore that kill on 3 dice, that kill 3 Infernal Warrior, 1 wound on the Bastion. And then the Vassal Levies roll crazy good in close combat, and I just pop him this turn. So I roll a good amount of damage, and he just crumbles, which is huge because I get a free pivot. I see the flank of both the Bastion and the Immortals, so that's really interesting. And the Lugar's combat, yeah, he did nothing to me. I did 5 wounds, so unfortunately for him, he breaks. I pursue, I catch him, and on my turn 4, I'm going to charge through the house onto the Blunderbuss. So yeah, I think now we see which way the game is going. Charge with the Vassal, he flees. Charge with the Overlord, he flees. Just close, and I'm bringing everything close to the Bastion. That's also why I didn't turn around with the Lugars, because I felt, yeah, let's just eat that. I have enough units here circling the Bastion to kill him later. Magic phase quickly, breast weapon, kill some, like 6 more between the shooting and everything on this Bastion. Close combat, I clean the Blunderbuss, he kills some of me, and that's more or less the end. Like you see, turn around, try to get the points of the Vassal, and I'm going to go send everything into the Bastion, and the Bastion is going to die, and is going to be only alive with his Overlord and the Vassal Levies, and that's the end of the game, which is enough to be 20-0. I lost nothing. Not a single unit, so yeah, that was a clean game. A post-game analysis, so deployment and secondary, I was able to get an advantage on the left, while it will be hard for him to push on the right. I think here he wanted to play for both, while considering the advantage I might have on the flank, he should have tried to play a strong flank and focus on one of the secondary. I think the choice of the side and the choice of the placement of the secondary was also not to his advantage. He should have picked the opposite, put it in front of the house, play with a strong right flank, and then it's much harder for me to try to contest it. Once I took the advantage on the left, I think the game was in total control, and then we can also mention on his turn 2, pushing the tank forward wasn't in his interest to kill some guys from the shooting. Then I was able to get it in close combat, and this just make my push on the left flank quicker. And the flank charge with the Lugars, yeah, dramatic consequences, no downside, so that's a big problem for him, and led for me to a bigger win. Round-wise, we got 5 wins and a draw, so that's obviously enough to get a cap and a good start in the tournament. Guys, thanks a lot for watching the battle report. I hope you liked it. Talk to you soon for the second game. Bye.